Welcome back to another hour of Princess Ash and Gang's merry hike up to the military kingdom of Arcadia in part 25 of Final Fantasy XII. Today we'll be journeying across the Fire Coast, my favourite non-dungeon location in the game, but not for the entirety of the video, because if you might remember, back when we was in the Lusu Mines, when we did the Antlion quest, we was informed that the key to the third area of the Lusu Mines had been fallen into the sea and had likely washed up on a coast. This is a coastal area, so maybe we should be on the lookout for it. Now, I already know where it is, but for the sake of showing what you're likely to do if you're looking for it, I do kind of stick as close to the waterline as I can, but there is a point where I will just sort of turn around and show you where it actually is. Sitting in the corners are these peculiar little enemies, and the reason why I say peculiar is because their skin looks like they're trying to it's trying to blend in, like a chameleon or something. I'm not really sure what it's trying to do, but it's weird to see a giant toad do that. And why it would need it in its evolutionary chain if it's already that big. But as I mentioned before, this area, the atmosphere and tone of it is what makes me enjoy it so much. The adventure doesn't feel droll because of this area, because you're constantly pushing forward. It's yeah, let's get a move on. Yeah, look at this really bright, nice, sunshiny area, which this game doesn't have many bright, sunshiny areas. With the nice water, splashing along the shoreline, these big open spaces for you to just kind of run around with, a fair variety of enemies. This little cavern bit over here that you can go to, just all of it is a really fun area, and I wish that there was a little more like this, because the alternative for normal zones that you can explore that have impact is Pamela Rift, but that's there because of the musical atmosphere and tension. The Esther Sands, because you probably have heard it a lot, and maybe I don't know, maybe the Giza Plains, because you go through it twice. The game doesn't have any real standout zones, but I do feel that this and Pamela Rift are kind of the only ones there is, and they really stand out because of it. Pamela Rift has my favourite piece of music in the game, but this is probably my favourite normal zone to explore just because of the atmosphere and tone, and just the fucking let's go kind of vibe it has going for it. I just adore it. I wish it did it more often, because it's this sort of music that reminds me of the classic Final Fantasy games, where you really did feel like you were going on an adventure. And this is the closest we get to it. And newsflash, this is the closest we get to feeling like we're on an adventure, for not just this game, but the next game in this series as well. It took until 13.2 before I started hearing music that felt like a really positive, fun adventure again. And even then, 13.2 had a very different style in how it handled it. So in terms of a traditional sense of adventure, we really didn't get that back ever, if I'm honest. Lightning Returns didn't really do it because it was so cinematic and serious. And 15 definitely had an adventure aesthetic going for it, but the music didn't always do its best to accompany it. It was never super positive and brilliant. As much as I love Yoko's music, I think that was the only beat she kind of missed. I hope whenever Final Fantasy 16 inevitably comes around, we get that sense of adventure again. Whether it be a more nostalgic feel, like the Final Fantasy 7 overworld theme, or just a really good energy theme like this one. But I say that, I wonder what Final Fantasy is going to do after the 7 remake. Because, let's be honest, the 7 remake's not gonna sell bad. It's gonna sell brilliantly, because it's the game that any kid who grew up with RPGs in the 90s has been waiting for. And that's a lot of people. It's probably gonna be Square Enix's best selling game outside of their MMOs. I don't see why it won't be an absolute monumental success, even with the people complaining that it's not the full title, despite the fact it's completely unrealistic that it would have been the full title in one package if they were remaking it to the scale they are. It's 100 gig and it's only Midgar. There's no overworld, there's no Cosmo Canyon, there's no Northern Crater, there's no weapons raid. and it's 100 gig already. What if they had everything in it? It would have been 7 fucking discs. Let's be honest. It would have taken up an entire hard drive by itself, and that's just ridiculous. That's like I said, it's unrealistic. It's bad enough we have Call of Duty games demanding 180 gigabytes per release, despite the fact there's barely anything in them. But after Final Fantasy VII Remake does come out, obviously they're going to start working on Part 2 pretty soon after, but I doubt it'll be the only thing they'll work on. I can imagine with the extra resources and expenditure they'll get, they will space it out a little bit. Like, this dude here won't let you pass until after you've been to the other side, but this, if you have a chocobo, once they've cleared the way, is your shortcut from one end of the Flying Coast to the other. It will literally take you to the opposite side. Which is the main reason why it's not letting you go there now, because it wants to make sure that you've been to the actual small village in the middle of this area, because there's a cutscene that needs to play, giving you a bit more backstory and some of the things on the journey. Because there are a few mysteries that should have spiked up and caught your interest by now, that is going to start getting answered as we progress onwards. Like, some of them will get answered before we even get to Arcadia. Which is nice, because it's decent pacing. Instead of just making you do this forever long hike, just have odd little bits get resolved as you go on, to just keep it going, keep you interested. I say that the pacing grinds to a halt in the very next zone. Like, after the Flying Coast, the next area, the Sheeta Uplands, I think it's called, that area is just boring. I can't paint it to you any other way. That area, nothing really happens in it. It's fucking way too big. It just drags. Like, that's the only bit where the pacing kind of grinds to a halt a little bit, because that area is just not fun. And I guess you could say the same for the Cave Palace, that's after the Uplands. But the difference with the Cave Palace is that there's at least a lot of side stuff that we'll be coming back for later on that will help flesh it out, and it's not too big. In fact, there's 2 different, like, side quests that the game doesn't really tell you about, and you have to kind of work out yourself in the Cave Palace. One of them leads to the weakest of the super bosses, so likely to be the first one you'll fight. One of them leads to just really pretty good equipment, and I probably should have done it on this visit, but I just forgot about it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, I had no recollection of it. Also at this point, now we've got Fundara and Blizzara, I start like adding it to the Gambits list, because Ash's Gambits is now the full list of 12, and look at the fact that it's completely filled up. You might also notice I've got it so if her MP drops below 20%, she will use an Ether on herself. That I eventually actually move to Bush and make it so it's allies only. If they drop to 20% MP or less, he will use an Ether on them. Just because then it gives more freedom for Ash and Balthier to have more other stuff on their Gambits. Because 12 is your max limit, you can't get it any higher than that. But I say that, building a full setup with the 12 Gambits is pretty satisfying in its own way. Like, being able to have 12 different codes work and have it balanced for your team in a way that you can eventually kind of shut off a little and let it function is satisfying to an extent. So the only thing that holds it back is the fact that once you learn the Gambit system, you're not really playing the game anymore. Like, you might have noticed for quite a while now, I haven't had to manually do anything for the past few areas, with the exception of when we was fighting Carrot. I haven't had to manually do anything. I've literally just been wandering around, and instead of the exception of like the elite hunts or the passive enemies I've been targeting, all I've been doing is running around and collecting treasures. I haven't actually been like focusing on anything. I haven't had to use my brain essentially for a lot of this, and it's probably why this game ended up being easier to record than I thought it would be, because I made it very clear in the like reveal video, saying I was going to do Final Fantasy XII, that doing 5 uploads a week was going to be unrealistic. And it turns out it might not be completely unrealistic. It's still unlikely to be maintained. There's still going to be odd points, because there's a lot of editing I need to do, and a lot of videos that are this length that I need to do, and they're not easy to just do. I can't just, like, the easiest way to put it is that on average it takes me about 3 times the length of the video to make sure everything is edited properly, because I go through it all with a fine-tooth comb, and even then sometimes I miss things. Like, I think it was the finale of the main playthrough of Celeste. I left the thumbnail work in the actual video because I just missed it. I just missed it going back through it. And so for a split second you see the word finale appear on the screen where I used that for a thumbnail. Like, that's kind of what I mean. But with these ones, because they're nearly an hour long, and a lot of them are nearly an hour long, it takes a lot of work to go through them, and so sometimes I can't just have it ready by the next day. Having a video ready for Monday, touch wood, I should be good to do for the rest of the playthrough, assuming I don't get the coronavirus or some shit. Like, I should be fine. It's just the rest of the week, because I'm like, as soon as this like is finished processing and goes into upload, I'm back to editing. The only day I'm not doing editing is Sunday. Sunday is my day, and even then I'm not editing all day because I'd go mad. I would miss things on exhaustion alone. But that being said, as you continue going to the right, no matter what path you take, you'll eventually end up at this little outpost village area here. And upon getting closer to it, the game will take control from you and initiate a little cutscene. So which means I've got to stop talking again. But this one is an interesting one, so you do want to pay attention to this one.
Why the capital?
The Nethicite. I must destroy it.
Are you sure? You don't want it for yourself? Use its power to restore Dalmasca? Something like that? The best intentions invite the worst kind of trouble.
Lusting for ever greater power. Blinded by the Nethicite. Is that how you see me?
That does sound like someone I know. He was obsessed with Nethicite. It was all he cared about.
Come over here.
He'd babble nonsense, blind to aught but the stone's power.
Like I said,
He'd talk about some Enna, or was it
beautiful view.
Vena?
Except for you.
No matter.
Thank you.
Everything he did to get closer to the Nethicite, to understand it. He made airships, weapons. He even made me a judge.
You're a judge?
Part of a past I'd rather forget. It didn't last long. I ran. I left the judges and him. Sidolphus Demon Bonanza. Draculaur Laboratories' very own Dr. Sid. That's when he lost his heart to Nethicite. Lost himself. And I suppose that's when I lost my father. Don't follow in his footsteps. I ran away. I couldn't stand seeing him like that, a slave to the stone. So I ran. Free at last. Funny I went for the Dusk Shard. How could I have known that it was Nethicite? And then, of course, I met you. All that running, and I got nowhere. It's time to end this. Cut my ties to the past.
It's hard to leave the past behind. I know.
Marriage of convenience. Symbol of the alliance between Nebradia and Dalmasca. This is how they see our marriage.
They do they?
These roles we play, I must admit I find it wearying.
I will play mine.
I would have no other.
The choice is yours to make. But don't give your heart to a stone. You're too strong for that, princess.
I pray you're right, Balthier.
Well, there you have it. Balthier's reasoning somewhat justified. The reason why he knew about the Dracula laboratories and where the Nephesite would be hidden is because his father runs the Dracula laboratory. He probably created the thing. The reason why Arcadia has such a militant power is because their own Dr. Sid runs the Dracula laboratories and has intensive, obsessive research towards the Nephesite, to such an extent that it either created hatred or fear from Balthier towards his own father, causing him to retreat, to leave, and never look back. But now, unfortunately, whether he likes it or not, we're having to return because of the princess's desire to destroy maybe the shard, obtain maybe the shard. We'll find out, I suppose. But there is the ability to restock here, and new stuff can be brought here, including the mirror mail, which you need to be careful of buying because it does cast reflect on you, and so any healing spell you use on yourself will be bouncing towards the enemy. So you'll need to be more careful if you decide to equip it. And so for the sake of, well, just being safe, I don't. I just completely swerve it. It is pretty good though, but the crystal shield is right under it, which is even better, because it also boosts your magic evade pretty well, so I just put it on Barsh and Ash, and I think Ash ends up keeping that shield for ages. I don't think, like, I think Barsh gets a better shield, but I think Ash ends up keeping that shield for a while. I'd have to check back in my editing. But then of course we still have extra loot to add more things to the bazaar, and then we'll start exploring a little bit more of this area. If you're going through every single side quest of the game as well, there is a side quest that you'll eventually be able to start here, where you'll be rewarded more stuff, the more rare game enemies you find and kill. But that takes forever. If you decide to go for all the rare game enemies, that's on you. I decide against doing it, but your reward is one of 3 badges you need to get the Worm Hero Blade, which is outside of the invisible weapons, the strongest weapon in the game, as I've mentioned before. You can also get Chocobos here, because Gertie's here if you want to talk to him. And the shortcut is now available, because the game's seen the only thing it cares about. You've seen the cutscene that matters, so as far as it cares, it's like, look, if you want to take the shortcut now, you're welcome to. There is a little bit more to see around here though. There's another bouncy board if you wish to pick up some more hunts, but it's the same listing as the one you'll find in the Sandstein Robinaster or the bar you could find in Bajurba. It's always the same listing for the normal notice boards. It's only the elite hunts that are different, but you have to go to Mont Blanc for them anyway. It's over here actually, you can just see it. So I even check it to see if there is anything, but no, we haven't crossed the next plot threshold for it to give us one, essentially. Which I think is the best way to put it, as I save my game here, then cut to the Cartographer's Guild I found in the northern bracket. So, you're a cartographer. Would you like to buy a map? Yes, you can buy the one for Fion Coast. You can also ask him for the directions, because this is a sizable area, so you could ask him for directions towards where you want to go next, if so need be. So when you talk to him, he says, leave it to me, I'll point you in the right way, Kupo. First thing, there's 5 ways in and out of the camps here, but worry not, you only need to go through 2. So you're trying to go to the Sheeta Uplands or the Salika Wood? 2 ways out to the Sheeta Uplands. Follow the coast you want to leave, and then start leaning towards the north. No matter which way you take, you end up at the Uplands. Got that, Kupo? Odd that that's there, because this is probably like, although it is definitely a big area, it's not difficult to really find your way around. There is an interesting loot spot that you can find on the coast if you keep low whilst going east, where there's like 5 treasure chests in a row just there, and they're always there, and it's always the same loot. They're not necessarily the best loot, but they are always there anyway. It's kind of weird. But then that's something that the original 12 did as well. The original 12 did it more often because the loot was randomized and there was never anything significant in them. So they would be, sometimes you'd go into an area and they would literally just give you 20 treasure chests as your reward. Because it's like, well, through the odds of chance, at least one of them would be good, right? Like, it was that kind of thing. But there is still one more block to the west we've yet to check out, so I'll quickly run through it whilst we're here. I try my hardest to explore every single map area because there's a trophy for clearing out every single map, and the only spot I am missing is actually in Arcadia, where we're heading to. There's a section of Arcadia you can't enter without doing a specific side quest, and because that side quest doesn't matter to literally anything else, I haven't done it yet. And I'm pretty sure it's the only thing I'm missing from the full map, assuming it doesn't count things that don't have maps. Like if it doesn't expect you to wander to everywhere through a particular dungeon later on that doesn't actually have a map, then if that's the case, then I might be in trouble because I might have missed a room. I don't know. I might have missed a room. I don't think I did in my recording. Be wary that the birds can use kamikaze, which is as the name suggests, a suicide move, which will kill them immediately, but will hurt you quite badly. Not as bad as the bombs can hurt you through their self-destructions, but it will still be quite painful to deal with, so if you can avoid it, do it. But once you've cleared out most of this area, the next little area I'll check out is pressing east, because I want to get those treasures and I know they're around. It's a shame every time you get to this outpost you stop listening to Fire and Coast's theme, because it's such a great theme. Like, the village and outpost theme is alright, but because you hear it in so many different locations, when it's in an area that has, a better track, you end up missing it, because this track is just so fun. I don't know, I keep mentioning it, but it genuinely is a really enjoyable track. These guys will leave you alone if you leave them alone, but if they're in the middle of a fight against something else and you happen to clip them, they will turn on you, and you can actually add them to the bestiary for it. Which kind of means that you kind of want them to accidentally get hit so you can enter the bestiary, but if not, it's no biggie because you can add them elsewhere. Also, if you stick along the water edge, piranhas will come and attack you that you can fight. Everything has to be so big. Like, why can't something just be a normal size thing? Like, why can't the piranha be, piranha size? Why does it have to be that big? But in front of us as we're approaching is the treasure line I was referring to. Look at this. This is here regardless of what you do. It's always just here. So enjoy a bit of loot as we get some XII berries, which I think is kind of odd because that only works on a boss we've already defeated. Braid wool, a Chronos tear so you can cure stop and slow, a Rhyme Fang, that's a usable item that does damage, Warhammer, new weapon that maybe be going on Bash, a Lily Fang, a Cowlet hat, a new magic hat, Lightning Fang, lightning damage, an enemy gets targeted and interrupts me. Dark Moat does dark damage. Soldier's Cap, I believe I think that's light armor. Pointy Hat, another magic armor. A Dispel Moat gets rid of enemies' buffs. New Kai Sands gets rid of confusion. A Round Shield, new shield. And Gravity Moat. Gravity does percentage based damage, but it almost never works. Oh, the Warhammer's weaker than what we've got anyway. You see, I check, I go over everyone, it's like, wait, can anyone I care about equip this? But no, so I put it on Pinello in the end. And the round shield's not as good as the shields we just brought, so it's already devalued. I think that's the only thing, like, it's a neat loot spot, but nothing it gives you is that helpful. Like, the XII berries is straight up, like, questionable. Like, I don't know why it gives you that. Because it only works on the Garuda, and the Garuda was the boss we fought outside the Temple of Wraithful, so unless it has some other hidden purpose I don't know about, that's a completely worthless drop. Like, I made it very clear to do the side quest there whilst you're there, because it gives you an item to deal with the boss easier, and it becomes worthless afterwards, and I don't get... maybe I'll do a bit of research between parts, I don't know, and see if I can find some other reason for them, but as it stands, I have no fucking idea why it gives you one of them. Because it just seems like a slap in the face. It's like, hey, do you need this thing that literally does nothing for you? Well, here you go. But at this point, I'll do a sharp cut back to actually getting the key. Back in the main area, you can find a man fallen over. If you're looking for him, go opposite where you found the cartographer. So go northmost and then turn around. And he's standing next to a small key. This dude, the reason why he's toppled over, he fell off of Bajurba, you know, the floating island, into the water and washed up here. So he's just kind of laying down, catching his bearings, because he must have fallen like a good 100 feet at least. But now we've got a new key, we can enter the third and final section of the Lusu Mines. Fair warning, the enemies here are level 60. We won't stand the chance if more than one of them fights us. So through the whole of this, you're going to see me take my sweet ass time and try and lure the enemies away one at a time. That doesn't always work though. Well, I say that, the Killer Manti here are the level 40 ones. We aren't actually in the new encounters just yet. But you are going to see me try my hardest to make it just one at a time, and anytime I get overrun, I run away. But the reason why I'm pushing to explore this place now, and I recommend you do the same, is because the stuff you can find here is some of the best stuff in the game. The second best armor sets in the game are all here. The best black magic spell is here. Like, the rewards for exploring this place out is so fucking worth it that it's kind of ridiculous to not, even with the danger. You just need to be careful because of how powerful the enemies are. You even see I do a check over because there's Marlboros in here, weirdly enough. But they're level 37, so they're similar to the ones in the Salika Wood. And you get the Orochi, which is a ninja blade. A pretty good ninja blade as well. There's also mimics here, or bugs in this area as they're called. And the traps are strong enough that they'll probably kill you at this level. There's oil bombs, which are bombs that cause oil, so you attach that with the bomb rod, you're good. And you also get a Zui Cross Blade, which is a dagger 6, which is pretty solid. Of 87 damage, that's really strong actually. I hesitate to give it to Varn, oddly enough though, which is weird because he's the only one I think who can use daggers, so I should have just given it to him really. Even if I don't use him in battle, I might as well try and keep him decently equipped in emergencies to give him a better chance of running away. Even if I say that knowingly that almost everything will one-shot kill all of them at this point. Because I never do actually go back to level them up to make them more prepared as backup like I plan to. Like, the situation that would require it just never arose, so I eventually just didn't do it. But if you deter and go right here, you can open the other side of the gate, so you can shortcut back here. You don't need to run around through the Antlion's Den again. There's also a few bats to kill here as well, or vampires. Here's the switch, open that door. And now we have our shortcut back here. If you want to go save now, do so, because like I said, the next area is pretty dangerous, especially if you're playing it on the base PS2 version. Because you don't know how well or poorly you're going to survive in this next section, and auto-saving between zones only exists on the HD versions. I'm even going to say the PS4 versions, but it is on Xbox, Switch, and I believe and PC. At least I'm pretty sure it's on Switch. I'd have to double check. But once you push up here and across the following bridge, you are well and truly in the next zone. So just, yeah, like I keep on not so subtly implying, be fucking prepared, because it will kick your ass if you are not. And your main strategy throughout the whole thing is going to be trying to space it out, trying to make it so no matter what happens, you're only taking on the enemies one at a time, or at most two at a time. Any more than that, you might want to consider retreating, because you might not survive. And it is never a bad choice to retreat, because you go to a new load screen, you have chance to restore yourself. You move 2 load screens away, you reset their encounters so you can find a new way through. You also found a renewing maroon, I think it was called, which really throws me off, because I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like, I'm trying to find it. But you see, it's not in my items. I'm like, what was that? What did I just pick up? You see me actively hunt for it. I'm like, what did I pick up? What is that? There it is. Light armor. When you equip it, it casts regen on you, which is why it's renewing, because it's renewing you. There's also an accessory that you can find that does the same thing, called the Ring of Renewal, which will always have regen on you when you've got it equipped. Which I eventually give to Ash, I believe. Just because then I don't have to worry so much. There's one that makes it so she always has haste, which was very tempting. But when I get Hestega, which we won't get for a while, by the way, but when we get Hestega, it's like, well, there's no need for it because I can make haste on the whole party in one spell. Here is where you begin. These guys are level 60 and they have bravery on, which means they're doing extra physical damage when they hit you. Are you going to see me try and encounter it one at a time, and you're going to see me have a war with this fucking thing. Then when we finally kill it, I realise that in the very next zone there's another one. Alright, there goes Balthier's first death and our first Phoenix down. Throughout the journey of this area, I actually go through every single one of my 99 Phoenix downs because of how underpowered I was and how unfortunate I was getting. The only reason I brave to do it now, like I say, is because the loot is so god tier. It helps so much. It's just if this thing decides to look, 2 people are dead, and at this point I'm like, oh fuck. But if you're following along, don't try and press towards the middle like I am, because there is another one, and you don't want to alert that one too. But thankfully I convinced the thing to kind of leave us alone. Well, not kind of leave us alone. Leave us alone enough that we can try and restore our damages and just try and get Balthier to kill the fucking thing. 4,000 experience, god damn. In the middle of this zone is a lot of danger, but there is a treasure chest for your trouble. So if you can get it, get it. You can see, like, I'm trying to eye up how I'm going to do this, but because there's 5 traps on the spot, you have to touch at least one to get close enough for the chest. And your reward is a dragon whisker, which I believe is a spear, and a very good one at that. It's one that actually requires its own slots in the license board. Like, it's not tied to any spear. There's this license needed dragon whisker. It's got its own thing on the board, and there's 100 attack power, which is amazing for this stage in the game. But then there's another one, and I'm like, fucking great. So I think I go to attack it, but I eventually... Oh no, this one's a level weaker. Oh boy. I think I go to attack it, but eventually say fuck it and just press on without it. I can't remember what I do. It's been a while, right? Or is this when I equip Thunderer so I can have Ash doing something as well to kill it? Yes, this is when I get put out on Thunderer on Ash so she can be helping out. And then move it a little bit up the board, so it's important. Because spells that hit whole groups, you always want higher up the board than individual ones. You want it to only use the individual one if it has to. But you're also going to be burning through your ethers a lot more here, so be wary for that. If you've been doing the hunts, you should be able to go to the clan-based shop to buy ethers to restock if need be. Alternatively, if you're feeling brave, run into the Necrohole of Nebudis. I think you can buy high ethers in the hidden shop there that I was referring to last part, but I don't know if that's after your visit to Arcadia that it has it, because more things add to the shop the further you go along the adventure. And right now is the earliest time we can visit it, so it has the least amount of stuff we can buy. They add more stuff after Arcadia, they add more stuff after we visit a certain location after it, and then they add another thing when the final boss area is available. With the thing they add when the final boss's area is available being a spell that you can buy to add to your spell list. Which is a shame that it's that late you get a Suniga, because it's what it is, a Suniga, which is gets rid of negative... Essentially it's a remedy, but a Suniga applies to your whole party. The only problem is that it seems to be quite selective on what parts of remedy lore it will obey, so I usually just use remedies regardless. But a Suniga is quite nice at getting rid of some status conditions in one go. What's my plan here? I'll get rid of poison. Eventually, when I get more gambits for Barsh, I put like every status condition restoring item on Barsh. Like I'll say, like, if ally poisoned, use antidote. If allies blinded, use eye drops. If ally stops or no, I put it on like ally any, because then it can cover both stop and slow. Use the Chronos tier. And I know in technicality you can just put them all on ally any. You don't need the specifics, but I just like to put on the specifics so at a glance I know what does what. Kind of thing. Like if I come back to the game for a while, I can just glance at them and go, okay, yeah, that's that. If that makes sense. But we got the upgrade of the bats here as well, from the vampires to Abastille. The Abastials are all around level 60 as well, and so you can see we're having a bit of a war of these things. A similar war to when we first entered Section 2, when we still had Larsa in our party. Speaking of, I hope he's doing well after, you know, death of his father, after the very apparent murder caused by his brother. That would shake anyone up. There is another enemy in this little section that we're approaching now that you need to be wary of, because it will just end you. There's no other way of putting it. It will just end you if you encounter them. They're actually over there, which is why you see me trying to lure this bat away individually. Because those guys, fighting them in a group, and they like to be in groups, you won't get far, you won't win. There's no sugarcoating it, you won't live. On the plus side, if you can survive here, the level of experience you're getting is going to make the next couple areas a lot easier when we return and start going through the rest of Fine Coast and the Sheeta Uplands. You see me double check the map to make sure I'm going in the right location, because I know where I need to be and where stuff is. It's just like making sure I'm not missing anything. Because over here is a biomote, but next to it is the Bone of Byblos. The Bone of Byblos is exclusive to the Zodiac Age. It is not in the original version of 12. It is a mace, so it is something that Ash can equip, and it is the second strongest mace in the game. The Bone of Byblos, Ash has for the entirety of the rest of the Let's Play, because I never got the strongest mace in the game. I never got lucky enough to get it in the right drop I needed it from. So the Bone of Byblos is when we get... yeah, I'm retreating because there's too many enemies. And so it is just not wise to continue. So I retreat to this safe zone, so then I can re-equip and reassess everything. So I buy Maces 5, so I can equip the Bone of Byblos. And while I'm at it, I just go through the rest of the license board a little bit. Because look at the stats on that thing. Attack damage is now higher than the rest of the party. She is now doing more physical damage than Barsh. Not that it will last for long, because we're going to get better weapons with Barsh pretty soon. But still, that's how strong that is. But to my luck, when I returned, I didn't go 2 zones away, so the enemies hadn't actually like left, but they'd kind of deactivated a little bit, so they were actually walking away, giving me a chance to get enough of a back attack on them to clear up the previous issue of getting overrun. So we can take out the Dark Lords. All the variants of the Dark Lords you need to be wary of, because they are very strong for this stage in the game, and they are never alone. You might be able to spot in the corner, there is another urn where we usually get our maps from, which is something I've alluded to earlier. Every time you enter a secret area of the map, there is something you can find called a candle. Candles reveal the hidden areas of a mine, so it's like a second map. So now every secret area in the Lucian mines that we've yet to be to is now on the map. So you see me go a quick glance over to see if there is anything we've missed. But as you can see, all the way to Site 7, with the exception of the deterrents up to Site 6 North, it's a pretty straight line. Site 7 at the end is where a boss fight takes place, and despite the heavy mist, it's not an Esper. It's for a hunt that we won't be able to do for a little while now. There's also some Gil here, but that's another... I think that's just a random loot. I don't think that is of any real significance, so don't worry about it too much. But I say that, but I haven't actually glanced at a guide to see if there are any hidden treasures that only arrive on chance. Because there are some treasure chests that will only be here on chance, and I might have missed a couple. Either that or I just got really lucky. But as you can see, these guys are kicking our ass. Even when there's only one of them... Well, yeah, even though there's only one of them, it still hurts. If you've got more bubble rings, it might be worth equipping it on more of your main party, just so then they can survive one hit. But I eventually just kind of wing it, and I'm like, I can get through here in one go, which thankfully I do. I retreated back through here off screen on the other side, because there isn't another orange save crystal to warp out of here on the other side. There's only one orange save crystal per zone. So on the other side of it, I did have to retreat back through all of here with 0 Phoenix downs. So I essentially just held down R2 and prayed, and got through it. I say that Ash has raise, so it wasn't too bad. Like, she could pick up some people as long as it wasn't her that went down. You know, now I'm worried again because there's 3 of them. Well, there was 3 of them. I'm looking, even look at the back of the recording. I'm like, ugh. You can see me. I'm menuing. I'm panicking. So I'm like, these guys suck. They're powerful and they can't stop as well, which really sucks because they can literally stop you dead in your tracks. Oh, come on, die. There we go. Now let's loot in peace. And our reward is just some measly gil. Hopefully this one's better. Glimmering robes, yes, that is better. That's another really solid piece of equipment. You're going to see me quickly go check it. Be like, hang on a minute, can we equip it? Mystic armor 12. I'm like, holy shit, we need to get that. Problem is that it's in the middle of like everything, so we can't actually reach it yet. And the circuit and lordly robes isn't worth like trying to buy now because that's a lot of license points. So I kind of like identify which would be the quickest way round to it, and the quickest way round is to buy the shell shield and go from there. So I'm working towards that now, but I assure you it'll be worth it as I buy Vanishka. Well, so I buy the level of time magic so we can use Vanishka and go over everyone else's super quick. The problem is with Barsh, at least, we're kind of at the point where everything he's buying is just numbers game now. Like, there's nothing of particular interest on Barsh's side, at least, that's interesting to get. With both Balthier and Ash, there's still magic to buy. There's still boosts like Remedy Law or Swiftness that reduces your action time, things like that. Barsh is kind of done. Speaking of Barsh though, you notice that we went over that trap and his MP dropped to 0? It's a good thing he hit it and not the other 2. But I say that, Barsh might have, not Barsh, Balthier might have got caught in it as well because I did catch him using an ether a second ago. Sorry, there's not that much to say here. I said the only reason you're here is for the loot. There's no special hunt that we can do right this second. There is later on, but just not now. There's no special boss or super cool secret. It's just you're exploring this place and looting it. And it's not the only time we'll be doing something like this. There's a couple areas later on where we're just literally going in and looting the place. There's an extra section of the hen mines that we'll go to much later on that will pretty much be doing the same. Because there is an optional boss in that, but we won't be ready for it by the time it's available, so we won't be bothering. Because there's the second section of the hen mines. To get to it is a little more hidden away, which is kind of interesting, because I'll see a lot of people never find the second half of the hen mines and like, well, how did you get to it? When you have 10 espers, there's someone in the village of Jiraiya called a Geomancer. If you talk to him, he will give you he will let you in on the other side, because in his eyes you've proven your worth. Which is why the strongest esper in the game is in the hen mines, because you need to have 10 of them already before it will even let you in. But there's some pretty solid, amazing stuff in there as well. When you get here, if you press upwards, there's a secret path that will take you over to this direction, to this little weird space up here. And of course, hidden secret area must mean super cool hidden loot, right? No, there's more mimics up here. These ones are called Pandora, I believe, yeah. And these guys are a lot stronger and have shell on them, so your magic damage is going to be a lot less. But they are fun kills and can drop decent loot, so I guess they're worth it. And they're probably the easiest to identify mimics in the game, because look at their rainbow coloured bullshit. Also, there's a gill bug there. I was like, what the fuck? When I saw that, I was like, that exists! I didn't know that such a thing existed, I just got robbed. But over here is the Maximilian, which in terms of heavy armor is the second best suit you're going to get in the game. It is fucking ridiculous. Well, you see me look for it first because I'm not sure what it is. You see me go to everything but where it is. There it is. And you see I go, oh! 64, 33, 78, a slight lower in vitality and a boost in speed as well. Straight back to Barsh. Let's see where that is. It's like, yeah, it's there. I need 90 point clear and I can get it. And over here is also Whale Whisker, which is another spear that also have its own thing on the license board. So you see me check, so I'm like, well, maybe it's a hat that goes with my Maximilian. It's not. It's a weapon. There it is. So it also needs its own license. You need a Whale Whisker license. And the rest of these are just mimics, I believe. Well, not that I checked to my left, but no, well. Oh, motorbikes just passed us by. I wonder if the mic will pick that up. I mention it every time, but I've never actually checked to see if the mic does pick it up. I should probably do that. Because I know my old mic, back in my earlier Let's Plays, used to pick it up horribly. But this mic that I've had since Sonic Mania, I honestly don't know if it does. I've never actually checked. I've just kind of assumed it does. Oh. Now we got trouble. We got a bat and another Dark Lord. And the Dark Lord won't fucking die. Ow. Fire a girl, fuck no, I really wanted these guys dead. Just bomb them! Buffett does not have the MP spare to be using tier 3 magic, alright? But now we can relax a little bit that we've got everyone on healing and can just kind of chill for a second. There we go, get everything back up in order, avoid that trap. Oh, another. I said avoid the trap, Ash! Fucking hell. Ash, why is it always you that hits it? Alright, what's up here? Is that another mimic or is that actually something helpful? Because there's 3 Dark Lords here, so I'm not going to be keen on staying. A Magi Power Shishak. A Mage Power Shishak. And over here is an Aquarium emote. Neat. Right past me. Let's see if we can find it without having to go through every single menu first. There it is. It's Heavy Armor. Despite having Mage in the name, it's also tied to Heavy Armor 11. So when we get the Maximilian, we'll also be able to equip that with it. We're just kind of like, huh, okay. They even saw me go back to Maximilian to check that they were part of the same set, which they are. Am I gonna try and nuke him again? Yeah, I am. Not that it matters, because he died before he could get it off. I think this is an encounter I end up running away from because these guys are too powerful. Because it's too big a group. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I leg it from these guys eventually. I stay around for a little bit, but eventually I'm like, this isn't going to work out. Especially when Barge gets hit with fucking stop, so you can't do anything. There we go. Get people back up. Yeah, okay. That thing's still not dead. This Dark Lord B needs to die so we can lower the numbers and make it a little bit more bearable. I'm surprised I don't run away from this. I could have sworn I ran away from this. Maybe it's another one where I'll bump into 3 that I decide, you know what, it's not worth it, and leave. Because look how many Phoenix Downs we're burning through, for goodness sake. We can't have that many left by now. Yeah, 28 left. I'm eventually going to try to see if because they're undead, I can kill them with a Phoenix Down, but it doesn't work. The only thing that will really work on them in terms of doing that is actually healing magic. So if I used Cure on them, it would have hurt. Now we're in trouble. Now we're in trouble. Now I brought up the pause menu because I'm like, okay, our only living member can't do fuck all. We need to move. Penelo, get someone up. Then I can't. Then she's still being targeted by something, so I can't get her out of the party. But she dies, so she has to be out of the party. So let's get Balfour back in, so we can try and get some team back. And hope someone doesn't fucking die. And then, yeah, now I run away. I knew it. I knew it happened eventually. I just fucking book it in the end because I know it's not worth it. Because there's another one just spawned as well. And I'm like, oh god. Oh god, we need to run. Run. Keep retreating. It's right there. No, don't pick him up now. There we go. I cut until when we get back through. Because I left and actually went 2 areas away so the spawns would reset more. So we could re-navigate and go a different direction, because holy shit. That got bad quick. I knew I retreated from that one. I was sure it was that one I retreated from. Just the fact that I managed to take one of them down, I was like, I would have stayed if there's only 2 of them left, right? Even if they keep on trying to put stop on us, and we're now running out of chrono tears as well. But you do want to push south, because the ultimate reward is just before the boss door. There is a reward in the boss door. If you're playing base 12, it's not there, but... Well, I'll say that none of the actual rewards we've got here are here if you're playing base 12. But the reason why I'm specifying the one in the boss door is because there's a specific hunt that will take place there, that originally your reward for doing it was the weapon we're about to pick up, but now you get a different reward for doing it, which is more fitting to the hunt in question when we get to it, for reasons we'll get to when we get to it. But now we're getting stormed again, because there's a lot more enemies, another bat, another fucking Dark Lord. At this point I'm like, you know, this idea of taking them on one by one isn't working. I tried my hardest, and it's just causing more problems. Like, everyone's just dying, and we're going to run out of Phoenix Downs very soon. And eventually I'm like, I just want to loot this place. I don't even care about trying to kill these things anymore. Especially because they're so fucking strong. Like, we're so under-leveled for them. So the moment they outnumber you, the moment trouble arises. And even if they're not even outnumbered, we're outnumbering them technically, but the fact that it's more than one, it's a problem. Thankfully, all the chaos and explosions lit up this treasure chest, because I probably wouldn't have spotted it otherwise. As you see me try so fucking desperately to get it, and we get some wormfire shot, which I believe is something for bows, I think. Oh, it might be no shots. It's not an arrow. It's a bullet. It's for guns, but we don't use guns, so they end up not getting used. The only time a gun was ever used was Balfir's gun that he started with, and that was it. Oh, do I really use an elixir? Okay, I died before I use it anyway, never mind. I was gonna say, do I really use an elixir? Do I really burn that son of a bitch here? I do. Oh, I really wanted to make sure I could get the other 2 alive, so wasting an elixir. It doesn't even help in the end, fuck. That was a waste. Don't use an elixir if you're going through here. That was a fucking waste. Ow. Everyone's just getting hounded. This point I'm like, run for God's sake, and just need to get to the next zone. The ultimate reward is literally in the next room. We just need to get there. Ah! Ah! Run! Yay! And there's a blue sea crystal as well to restore herself. And you're gonna see, like, hang on a minute, why isn't Bosch using a Phoenix Down? It's higher on the priorities. We're out of Phoenix Downs. But if you save and go over here, you get Scathe. Scathe is the best black magic spell in the game. Because it does tier 4 black magic, which is the highest tier you have available, and it's non-elemental. Meaning no enemy can resist it. It will always hit them. So you want that. That's an amazing spell to have. Beyond here is the boss room, but there's no boss in here right now if you go to investigate, because it's tied to a hunt we've yet to do. So if you run in here now, you can actually get a reward early, because once I've done running around, I eventually go check the trap. You can get the Masamune, which is an amazing weapon to have, a ninja weapon that was originally your reward for clearing the hunt here, but now you just get it here and you get a different reward for clearing that hunt. But that being said, next time on Final Fantasy XII, we are going to go back to advancing through the main plot. We are done with our expedition. We'll be going through the Sheeta uplands and then into the Cave Palace and maybe Old Arcadia, but we'll see. But until then, you guys take care now.